part 3 of boot construction and tips by Nutnfancy. Here we go. Part 2, we left off talking about the midsole of the boot. That, of course, is the mid portion of the boot. We can't see it here unless we rip the boot apart, but it's going to be the material used between the exterior sole and the insole, i.e. where your foot goes in the boot. And I'm going to say this, it's critical, especially if you plan on carrying weight. And I'll be honest with you, I carry a lot of weight on my back when I go backpacking. I'm just crazy that way. I know some of you guys watching this are ultralight hikers. I say more power to you. There's always stuff I'm doing, either review video or bringing in a pack raft to a high mountain lake or a float tube. There's just stuff I carry. So I need a very well constructed both sole and midsole. The thing you want to stay away from in a heavy-duty hiking book is EVA. That's your athletic type compressible foam that you see in tennis shoes, and there's a lot of hiking boots that look really cool. They look really rugged, but they use EVA midsoles. Stay away from those. They are not supportive. They'll let your heel rock. They compress too much, and they're not durable. When they compress, uncompress, compress, uncompress over and over again, they become useless. And that's why runners change out their running shoes frequently, heavy-duty runners, is because EVA is not a very durable material over time. The materials you might want to look for are polypropylene. I think that's a new material. Polyurethane is a good one. I think that's what this midsole is made out of in these Merrell Millenniums. And that's a compressible rubber or synthetic. However, it also has some stiffness to it, and that's what you want in a heavy-duty hiking boot. Moreover, look for a fiberglass or even a steel shank running the length of your boot. Now, in these Merrells, I learned by experience I have to go with pretty much a 3/4 length shank. The way you can tell a shank is if you grab a boot and you bend it. See, as I apply torsional stress to that, the boot does not want to bend. That's because of the shank gives it a lot of strength. And let me show you by contrast a boot that doesn't have it. I'm going to go back to those. Actually, I'm going to show you Herman Survivors. This is a pair of boots I've had for years. They look pretty rugged, right? They look like, man, these boots are tough looking. And you'll be careful. There's a lot of boots and shoes that look really good, but they're trying to entice you to buy them. However, when you bend them, there's no shank at all in these Herman Survivors. Now, other Hermans I'm sure are fine, and I don't even know if they still exist. Don't care, but this is a good example of a boot that looks rugged but has no support in the sole. Oh, and by the way, I found that out the hard way because I wore these boots in survival training, and my feet were flipping killing me. Okay, they let me down. Moreover, my feet jammed into the toe box in all the hiking I did in survival training, and my feet were just absolutely killing me. So I may refer to these boots in the future. And they do have a positive side. They're great all-around snow boots when I'm not doing a lot of hiking, but for hiking they're worthless. So back to the shank, and the importance of a shank is it gives you that stability in your sole, and this is the most important thing that it does. It prevents you feeling every rock and pebble in the trail, and that also I learned from hard experience. And I'm going to go to this boot. This is the boot I learned it on. I forget what brand of boot this is. Is it Technica or oh, it's Reichly. This is a Reichly boot, and this is a good boot. Don't get me wrong, but it is not a heavy-duty hiking boot. This pair of Reichlys, and I learned that the hard way, like I said. And as I was carrying a very heavy pack, 70 pounds, I know, it's crazy. Actually, it's probably more than that. I learned that I was feeling every pebble through this sole, and it hurt. My feet were absolutely sore on the bottom. And one of the reasons, look at the flexibility, is it doesn't have, if it has a shank, it's a half shank, and it's a fiberglass ending right about here. And what it left is this entire area here has no shank under it. And that weight, your weight combined with your backpack weight, sinks down on that trail, and it makes every pebble and rock painful to your feet. And I'm talking on a long hike, like 10 miles plus. On a short hike, you probably would not notice it. But I learned that with these Reichleys. and that's when I upgraded to the Merrills, and these are good. I can carry a very heavy pack, and as you can see, it's a very stiff boot. And for me and my weight and what I am, I'm over 200 pounds plus my pack weight. I need that heavy duty construction. Now, if you're lightweight and you don't weigh that much, you may not need that much support. So just to be fair, let's add that. So it's not everybody that will need that type of support. What I'm talking about is if you kind of are heavier, like 180 plus you have a heavy pack, this is what you want to be looking for. So avoid EVA. Fiberglass shanks are good. Steel shanks are okay. I actually prefer to go with a synthetic shank because it provides much of the stability. It's lighter weight, and also if I hike during the winter time, steel will get cold and stay cold and actually can transfer some of that coldness to your feet, I've found. So just a heads up. And it's just darn heavy. So midsole construction is supremely important. Now let's talk about Rands. And the good thing about those Reichlys, and again, these Reichlys are a good day hiking boot, maybe a medium duty hiking boot, but a Rand is a portion that goes around the top of the sole and midsole and connects it to the upper. And as you can see, these Reichlys have a rubber Rand running clear around the boot, and I dig that. I wish all my boots had that. That's great, because what that does is as we step into those rocks and they serve to scratch our leather or whatever material up, it just makes your boot more durable and able to withstand that. The toe Rand is probably the most critical, how they do that. And I showed you previously the one on these Merrill boots, how I'm getting some separation there. Now that's not the end of the world. All I'm going to do is clean that out with water. I'm just going to scrub it out with some soap and water and then let it dry thoroughly, and I'll put some shoe goop on there, which is a shoe glue, and that will just totally glue that toe back on. So you'll see that's not the end of the road. But a good Rand, which this really doesn't have, notice it does not have the rubber Rand, and you can see all the scratches and rips I've gotten from rocks as I've gone along. But not a showstopper if it doesn't have a nice rubber Rand running around it, but if you can get one, that's great. Now let's talk about the cuff construction of a boot. What I'm talking about here is this portion here. From here on up, how is it constructed? I'm going to go back to my Reichlys because that's an excellent cuff construction. Granted, they didn't have the shank in there, so that was a bad thing. But it's got cuff construction that's really nice. And it's built kind of like a ski boot. It's full leather, and it's soft, and it's padded. And this is probably the best cuff construction I've found because it's durable. It's not made of fabric. It will wear very nicely. I guess the downside, if there is one, is full leather cuff like this versus maybe the Merrill one, which is full leather as well, except it's fabric on the inside. I think they call this material Drylex, which I'll talk about. That Drylex material helps you breathe, and it just channels or absorbs sweat. It doesn't really channel sweat, it absorbs sweat. So that's good. Now, along with the cuff construction, if you are hiking, I absolutely recommend you use gaiters on top of your boots. And that's critical in that it'll prevent crap getting in that cuff. I don't care how well constructed the cuff is and how tight it is around your ankle, you're always going to get pebbles and twigs and stuff falling in there unless you gaiter up. And gaiters, of course, would go over the top of the boot, lock into your instep, and you will see in all my videos pretty much I'm always wearing gaiters. It's because I've just learned that without gaiters I'm going to waste time picking crap out of my boots. So cuff construction, not super critical. Gaiters, super critical. How about lacing? Not too much to say about this. I think most high quality boots lace similarly. And this Merrill again has the roller lock lacing. This is called the roller lock. There's actually a little wheel in there that rolls. I do prefer that over the regular D style lacing, this one right here, because when I suit up and put my boots back on, it's just a great way for me to adjust the volume of my boot. Maybe my feet have expanded a lot, and if I want to loosen it up, a roller lock lacing system, kind of like the Merrills on the left, loosen quicker on the bottom half of the boot. And once I get this adjustment right on the bottom half, I'll go to my insteps, my lacing on the insteps, lock them in, and then this will not change. And then I might want a different volume setting for the upper portion to my ankle, and that's possible if you have a good locking instep lace. And the Reichley's also have that too. It has that instep locking lace, so I can adjust the volume on the bottom versus the volume on the top. But most boots will have, high quality boots, $100 or more, will have that type of system. But I prefer the roller lock if given a choice. Okay, moving right along. I got to start with a part 4, so I'm out of time.